Good morning to everyone. Nice to see a lot of familiar face that also attend a few other GBB events around Europe and Middle East. So I'm very happy for GBB for what they are organizing, and I see there is a recurrency and familiar face and friends becoming and attending the events. The fireside today is a little bit a different panel because yes, we will talk about the companies that these two guys represents, but also we would like to understand who they are, what's their life, professional life they reach here, because a way to know the market, and there is many exhibitors here that would like to sell their product, is not only speak about the product itself, but is also try to understand how the people are thinking here, what they reach there, what is their professional, how they experience the life here. That is an added value that who want to enter and to in this market need to understand when they need to dialogue and when they need to present. So thank Fahad and thank Elias for attending.
Pleasure,
here.
Federico. Thank you.
I would like start asking from you what's happened in your professional life that lead you to be as a CEO RAFAL. RAFAL is a prominent real estate mostly developer, where Hokair is a diversified group focusing on retail and hospitality mostly. But from Elias and from Fahad, what's happened in your life before you reach you reach here? What you did before?
I would ask you, how much time do you have?
How much time you want? Because I believe the experience of you guys is an added value for who is attending these events.
Well, I think it's an interesting question. Each person in the room could have different, we come from different walks of life. In my case, I think it wasn't planned, and I've discovered that real estate development can never be planned as such as you go to medical school and you pick your specialty. I see very familiar faces, friends who are in the industry, and I know each of them came from a different route. Myself, I started in banking, then investment banking and private equity. I came to Saudi 15 years ago.
Where you started? In this region or another region?
In this region.
Okay.
Actually, Morgan Stanley recruited me for Saudi Arabia back in 2007. Real estate funds were just picking up in Saudi Arabia. The CMA had just been structured properly with the real estate investment fund regulations back then. And we launched one of the earliest real estate funds. And then soon, given my passion into real estate, I found myself sliding into real estate asset management until I got an offer from a regional developer who wanted to set shop in Saudi Arabia in 2010. So I took the bold decision to go hardcore into the brick and mortar side of the business. We set up a number of projects in Saudi Arabia, north of 10 billion riyals in terms of project value. And then with the shift in the whole ecosystem of the industry driven by the PIF and the mega projects, I did some consulting work because I found I am responsible to share the bottom-up practical experience with this large number of new projects that are coming along, a lot of consultants, a lot of newcomers. It's always healthy to give the local context, but not get stuck with the old thing. You need to be able to balance both. And I believe for 3 or 4 years I was able to contribute a lot to some of these projects, not as a front runner, more as a support function and expert opinion. Until very recently, I spent 2 years with the Royal Commission for Riyadh City. Again, we looked at major urban regeneration projects in Saudi Arabia. Some of them are seeing the light as we speak. And almost a year ago, I joined RAFAL, and it has been a very interesting uh, move back to the private sector. A lot is happening, and I think it's good time for the private sector to start taking their footprint in the mega projects, and we are starting to see that. I think most of the mega projects, whether in Riyadh or outside Riyadh, are now ready with the private-public partnership schemes. You know, it's not easy at this level, but we are seeing a very smooth transition in this respect. And this is what everyone has been waiting for, to see how the private sector will end up playing a leading role in these platforms that PIF and other governmental entities have put forward for the industry.
Thanks a lot. Fahad?
Thank you. Good morning, all. Thank you for having me. And I will not take much time talking about myself. I don't want to bore you with my boring story, but we share the same background. I'm previously a banker. A couple of decades ago, I got a call from a hospitality major company that they wanted a business development director. And I didn't know much about hospitality then. And being a banker, you know, we're all just focused on one channel numbers, and we don't see much of the outside world. At that time, most of my colleagues would be continuing their career in banking. However, hospitality was really in the early stages in Saudi, and there were not much locals involved in it. So I gave it a thought and then decided to change career to hospitality, which I'm glad I did. And since then, it became a passion of mine. I started to educate myself through starting, from the base of the ladder and going forward, taking some trainings at Cornell University and doing an MBA to help me, understand also the business environment further. And within this company that I joined, previously called Sharaku, now it is Dur. I started in the business development, but then I moved into operations and marketing, and I was a GM of some of the hotels, and also went through the whole hospitality spectrum. I represented the company with major brands as an owner rep, and started to dig into this world of hospitality, which was very interesting, for me, and I'm still continuing now in this field. And I'm glad to see that's now evolving and becoming more attractive, hopefully, to more locals, and where we can maybe share experience with them.
Yes, hospitality is a sector that or you like or you don't like. So once you start to go inside and you like, it's absorb your energy and
exactly
work in a different way.
Long hours, and you have to be a social person to interact with people. If you don't, then it's not your industry. But I think this is, becoming, the hot topic in Saudi economy now is hospitality, and I encourage all my friends, who might be bankers or whatever else to try this career.
Thanks a lot. One question that both of you come from financial background. How is helping your position, your CEO for two companies? How is your financial background help you in leading the companies? Is it an added value having the financial background in this case for the position that you're having?
I would say it's more than an added value; it's a must. And an early career in banking, it's not just about finance. It's more about character building, learning to be diplomacy, deal structuring, negotiations. I think these factors are very important for a CEO. Even the most tedious jobs that you've done in your early days as a banker, you would probably hate it and think, why am I doing that, or why did I study to end up doing that? But later in your career, some events happen and you realize that they were crucial for your self-development.
Fahad?
I believe it has pros and cons, and I'll start with the cons that being a financial background and a banker, you tend to be risk averse, and you don't want to take big risks because more the consequences. So this might sometimes hinder your entrepreneurship, or being courage, have the courage enough to do some investments. However, if you can manage that, it's very helpful to have the financial background, because then you can see the full picture. You'll know the consequences of all decisions, and you can translate them into numbers, and you also can help you with the financial institutions, which are very big partner in our industry, and it eases the relationship very much, and gives the more trust.
Especially when interest rates are skyrocketing.
Especially in this environment where every other day you have an interest rate hike, and at this time I think it's very beneficial to have that background. Yes.
Thanks a lot. As a leader, as a CEO of a company, if you look back in your past, who has an impact in becoming who you are at the moment, as a person, as a CEO of a company? Who have had this role? Who was a kind of inspirational for you to be a leader as you are today?
I think a good leader manages to have many mentors. I think it's about attracting and building chemistry with industry leaders, but as well people who they might not be CEOs or leaders, they might be just people who are experts in their field, and where you build the chemistry and build relationships to complement the skills that you need to succeed in your mission. I would mention, definitely I was lucky to have several bosses in the governmental sector here in Saudi, in the banking sector, in some private equity business that I was involved in. It gives you different perspectives, but also from urban planners that I've worked with 10 years ago, and we remain good friends, and we talk and we exchange ideas. And even if we haven't spoken for a year, I come across a case and I pick the phone and call them. These I call mentors as well. It's not about hierarchy, it's about exchange
experience that you absorb.
Correct.
Fahad?
Well, two or three main influencers. One of them was my boss in the hospitality company that I joined at that time, and I still remember his wisdom and his leadership that I learned a lot from. And also my father and colleagues. Some of the colleagues that we have worked with really taught me a lot. I learned a lot from them. Our guests as well. One of the most important, I think, influencers that we can learn from is the guests, especially unhappy guests. You tend to get the right feedback from them, and you learn how to adapt to their comments. I remember that when I was a GM of a hotel, this was one of the most learning experiences that I have, and moving from a bank where I sit on the desk all the day, and now in the lobby meeting everyone, was a very good influence and teaching tool that I had. I think affected me in my career.
I agree with you. Family mostly. Sometimes it's as most of the people they know me, I come from a small village as we discussed last time when we met. 86 people only, and the value that you generate when you grow, it's something that you carry on for the path of the life that you have, and you never know where the life ended and where you work in this way. So it's I believe it's also who we are. Sometimes, often, it's what we learn and what the parents with a lot of effort that try to teach us when we were young and naughty.
So true.
Correct. Yeah.
And also we spoke last time about your father, then when you were living in the southwest of Saudi Arabia, how he influenced and how the different life was in Saudi Arabia at the time.
It is. He contributed to spreading education in the southern part of Saudi, as a region, where he joined as with no schools, and in less than 20 years time there was 625 schools there. He used to go to mountains, to difficult areas, to open schools. So his dedication, his patience, his generosity even to the community, really I learned a lot from, and I take him as an example in my profession.
Yeah, and also I was impressed when you say that you were receiving some animal or as a gift that are extinct at the moment.
Yes,
they are
yes,
extinct. So
yes.
it's completely different,
Exactly.
different Saudi at that time.
Living in the south of Saudi Arabia is completely different. It's not a desert. It's more of a mountains and forests. At that time, I remember my father receiving a tiger. That was, of course, killed by someone else, but then it was, we got it. They made it, they preserved it, and they brought it to the house. And so there was, wildlife in that region that get distinct, unfortunately, right now. Which all, it's like Africa, for instance.
After we spoke, I went and searched, and that time was a cheetahs, lion, tiger.
Exactly.
Something that you can never believe that was living here in Saudi until a few decades ago.
Exactly. And it's a few decades back. It's not far from now. I hope it will be returning. I think there is now a program.
Yeah, on a positive note, there are so many initiatives to bring back
exactly, to bring back the wildlife back to these regions, because, it reflects on tourism, it reflects on environment, and it's good for everyone. Because of the distinction of the tigers, the baboons now is taking over the whole mountainous region. So, and it's becoming really bad for the environment as well.
It's not becoming anymore a touristic attraction. It's becoming a little bit. They are becoming a little bit too much in a certain way.
Exactly.
What your bigger challenge that you face in your career?
At a career level.
Career or personal? Feel free to tell us.
I think the cultural aspect has become a very complicated aspect in our daily lives. Saudi is in a transition. You have old school, you have new school, you have people coming from different experiences. So for a leader to be able to make sure that you break the silos in your organization and you optimize the productivity, I think this is one big challenge on the human level. Of course, there are several macro and microeconomic levels challenges. I mean, like most recently, the interest rates, the inflation, supply chain interruptions. But these I call, facts of life, facts of daily life. If it's not this, it's going to be 2 years ago. If we were having this discussion, it would have been COVID. So these are facts of life. But the cultural component is a tough one, I believe.
Thanks a lot.
With a very fast, pace of change that we are experiencing in the last few years, and added to that the unusual incidences like the pandemic and the geopolitical happenings in the world and the financial crises, and I think keeping up with all that, topped with the technology fast changing as well, is really a challenge to any, I think, any person, and in hospitality, I think it's even larger.
Thanks a lot. If you have to, are you fully satisfied who you are today, where you are? Or if you have to change something, you look back, you would like to change something?
Well, picking on the previous panel, I think everyone spoke about technology, and when you're above 40, how difficult it is to integrate into some of the new technologies. I think I would, if I want to look back, I would have built more personal capabilities in technology. More every day, I realize that it is becoming an essential characteristic in your character, in your skill set. And I always intend to develop myself further in that field. But you're always busy with your day-to-day work. So I think this is one component that is
you would like implement more.
Yes, definitely. I hope one day I can just spare a month or two just to to do this upgrade.
Fahad?
I'll never be satisfied with, with the current position. I've always and would continue to look for improvements, and I'm sure we all have shortcomings that maybe we want to fulfill, or contributions to the industry and the community that we still want to see. And for example, in Saudi Arabia, I would like to see myself putting much and more effort in helping the industry maturity, becoming, to a world standard level. We want to see hospitality to be, we want to all to be part of hospitality improvement, considering that it's an alternative source of income with tourism to Saudi Arabia, other than oil. So I think, there is no end to improvements, and if we're satisfied, we will die. Basically,
there's still every time room for improvement in any sector. We should never be stop to be thirsty to absorb everything. And as what you said before, you work in many environments, and sometimes you take piece and piece from everyone. And sometimes even we didn't study. We use that, and we help us to reach what we are in the position we are. About the technology, I fully agree. When I give the mobile on the hands of my daughter, she showed me function that I really
didn't know existed.
Sometimes I'm thinking how much time she spent in her mobile to know all this technology. But sometimes you never know. You never know the answer on that. Starting to move on your companies. Just explain to us, try to promote your company. Who is RAFAL and who is Hokair Hospitality?
Wonderful. So RAFAL has
been...
Sure. By the way, we have two
ex-RAFAL
employees here. Please raise your hands. So RAFAL is a three. Sorry, RAFAL is a small family, early mover in the market in terms of mixed-use developments, gated communities. We pride ourselves to have broken some barriers in the early days when the industry was too static. Today we are, I wouldn't say reinventing ourselves, but upgrading the product to meet the new ecosystem. And we're very happy this is happening, because even before joining RAFAL as a practitioner in the industry, I tell you, there were some barriers, social, economic, and regulations as well. Many times you would want to present a new product, but you feel that the regulations are sticky. All these have gone through a quantum leap over the last few years, and this is an opportunity for developers to start thinking local versus international. Okay? Local is what the market immediately needs, and the international standard is the aspiration of the leadership, the benchmark that the mega projects and the new master plans are posing. And as RAFAL, we are balancing both. And you cannot jump 10 steps into the new ones because things take time. And at the same time, we want to preserve our legacy of being, slightly ahead of the market in product development. So we are focusing on our two verticals, which is mixed-use development and gated communities. But with mixed-use developments, we are shying away from, skyscrapers, going into districts, walkable districts with urban retail, because I believe that the Saudis are really thirsty for this mixity, the 15-minute city concept. There are very few spots in Riyadh where you can implement that, because the master plan of Riyadh is more, vehicular, suburban in nature. So we are picking certain spots where we can exercise this urbanism trend.
Yeah, it's needed. I live in Riyadh, and sometimes there is many areas in Riyadh, but sometimes you struggle to have a place where you can enjoy walking 15, 20 minutes in a nice environment, where you find a different activity, different for the family itself. So I believe we need more this amalgama to make a different step in how to enjoy the city as it is.
And it's not that easy to break the ongoing trends and try to innovate, because as I said before, this requires lobbying with the regulators, even the owners of land banks. Sometimes in a market that is very liquid, and you always get a buyer coming with a premium. You know, they tell you, why should I develop it? And go through all this innovation cycle that comes with risks and challenges, of course. So I think this is what differentiates a great developer from a good developer. If you manage to innovate and execute it. So we are there in this, we are starting a new cycle in terms of introducing a new breed of products into the market. And hopefully before the end of this year, we will be launching two developments. One is a gated community and another is a mixed-use development.
So very shortly, because the year is almost ended.
It's done. It's done.
If your call is coming, the end of year is your call is coming shortly.
Correct. No, expect a press release soon.
Okay. Thanks for the anticipation.
Thank you.
Well, if I would like to give a brief about the Hokair Group, it is a business that was established 5 decades ago by the founder, Sheikh Abou Hokair, and since a few years back, it is becoming a public listed company operating in two pillars, main pillars, hospitality and entertainment. It's the pioneer group in these two pillars, where hospitality, the company have reached about 35 hotels kingdom-wide, working with most operators and most brands, and was probably the first company to have a franchise agreements with the major brands.
Yes.
In Saudi. This was not an easy thing to have, you know, because of the brand standards, etc. But I think the confidence of the brands in the group, you know, allowed us to have most of our hotels portfolio to be on a franchise basis, and with some on a management contract basis. So we, you know, I think this is an accomplishment and legacy that we will continue redefining and working with our partners, hospitality companies. And the second pillar is entertainment. And again, the group was I'm sure all of us as a children in Saudi Arabia here, we have played in the Al Hokair Time or some of the family entertainment centers around the kingdom. The company had about 90 branches kingdom-wide at one stage of family entertainment centers. To name one brand, for example, that we might be familiar with is Sparky's, and children know it very well. And currently we are really revisiting the two models. First, to focus more on our hospitality offering to cope up with the new development, but with a heavier weight given to the entertainment side. As you know, there is a momentum now in entertainment in Saudi. We are joining forces with the major players in entertainment. A couple of weeks back, we signed, and it's announced a deal for about less than 100 million to provide entertainment venues and services in a major season here in Riyadh, where we are also providing new brands. For example, Coquimillon, Hasbro, and these are very relevant to children, so I don't know if this will be, you know, known here, but these are, we got the master franchises for these, and you will be seeing it, for example, in Riyadh season and in other places. So entertainment is another pillar that we are really focusing and rejuvenating going forward.
Thanks a lot. Riyadh is a city that is changing a lot, is exploding. You are most of your development here in Riyadh, and the first hotels and many of your hotels is here in Riyadh. How your companies are interacting with this fast change of the city?
I would go back to the term explosion. I think Riyadh has been exploding since I ever remember, you know, because the city has been growing since the 60s like crazy, and the growth was driven by spending on infrastructure expansion. In fact, today the city is consolidating.
Okay.
Okay, and there are efforts to densify the city, which is very interesting for hotels, for developers, and for people living in the city and visitors. Um, the city is becoming surrounded by these mega projects, which are nodes. You have the Raya Gate northwest. You have Roshan northeast. You have the Industrial Valley. You know, the airport expansion. So we are starting to find the downtown of Riyadh that everyone has been searching for. And Riyadh is not like Rome, for instance, where you have an old town and then ring roads. I once saw a nice sketch of a sunny side up egg and a scrambled egg.
Okay.
Rome is the sunny side up egg, where you have the yellow in the middle and the white
Around.
Riyadh is a scrambled egg, where you have the yellow scattered. You have different nodes, which is a very interesting urban plan for a city of this scale. When you become a metropolis, it's very hard to be central.
Uh-huh.
So we see a very bright future for Riyadh, and we're investing, as I said, in these nodes, and we're trying to see where these nodes will be. There's King Salman Road, for example, which is still version from a development point of view. King Fahad Road and Ulayya, this golden strip, will be seeing lots of, I would say, rezoning, and it will have a common identity. So there are lots of opportunities coming up. I would say Riyadh 10 years from today really will look like a different city, not just from an architecture point of view, but also from a city fabric point of view.
From a livable point of view.
And livability, green Riyadh, street art, and the metro by itself is a game changer when it's launched.
Thanks.
I believe all players in Riyadh market should be aware of and working towards the target of serving the 15 million population that His Royal Highness Prince, the Royal Highness the Crown Prince has announced that by 2030 we'll have 15
million people.
Million people. So how are we going to serve for this huge expansion? How are we going to, help and participate in this very promising vision in terms of our propositions? For example, Hokair, in our hospitality, we are redefining our niches that we can really be flexible enough and afford a product that will complement the other products coming through the mega projects, which we look into as a complementing rather than a competing part to help us, join forces. I think Riyadh is becoming the economic, motor of Saudi Arabia, and we, as a hospitality and entertainment players, we have to really gear for that. It's coming faster than we expect. We don't have to be, a classic way of doing work and development that we had before. We have to come up with different proposals, different propositions. Otherwise, we will face difficulties, all of us as players.
Yes, you need to adapt to the changes.
Adaptability, yes.
But often you need to try your best to anticipate the changes.
Exactly.
Because if you anticipate, it's something that you manage properly, and you can take more value than not be on the consequence of the changes that are happening. But this city and this country is going so fast that sometimes we it's not easy. It's not easy.
It's very interesting you mentioned that. Few days back, there was a major conference here in Saudi, the FII, Future Investment Initiative, where there was about 6,000 participants, hotels and and we didn't have enough rooms for that, and it's happening now. So imagine how it's going to be like after a few years.
Yes.
Now the population is about 7 million. It will be doubled, and the influx of visitors and events happening in Riyadh are incredible. And we had a growth of about 7% last year in the economies. And this is, I think, mostly is driven by the momentum happening in the new Vision 2030. So we have really to be proactive, as you rightly said, and see how to best serve for this.
Yes, very well said. We are running out of time. Any question you would like to raise before we close the session? One question I would like to ask to you before
Sure.
close. What is missing for you in Saudi Arabia? What you would like to see that is not here yet?
I think the vision has pretty much covered so many aspects of the rejuvenation of the city. If I want to pick one component, is special economic zones, and
Okay.
not just free zones, the broader term of special economic zones. I think this is one step that I believe is coming soon, but has not been announced yet. So I'm really looking forward to see how it will be implemented. Would it be, and how would the impact on the real estate industry, from foreign ownership to visa-free entrance, so many things related to also attracting the right corporates. We know there's the HQ program, which has been very successful. 70 regional and international headquarters have already announced moving to Riyadh. It was there in the FII, one of the major announcements. But I'm talking about the more granular aspect of special economic zones.
What I would like to see, I think, is more of relevance to our stakeholders and partners coming from abroad, offering services to our hospitality industry, naming, for example, suppliers. We have plenty of them here in this room. I think what's missing is to see them having bases here, interacting more with us as players in the hospitality and development of real estate, and opening channels. Also, the major hotel brands, we would like to see, I think it's missing that we see more of their support to investors and working with owners on redefining the business model of the management contract franchise basis to be more of an interactive and flexible way of doing business, in view of the digitization that is now happening and all the OTAs we see. I think brands need to really take the relationship with owners, the hotel industry, to another level of maturity, and to really have a base and talk to owners and hopefully develop a new business model that is missing right now. This is talking about industry.
Yes.
For the country, I don't see much missing. The vision has covered everything, but it's coming as we go. And we've seen things happening that we never believe will happen. So missings will be less than accomplishments, much less.
Thanks a lot, and thank you guys for joining the panel and share with us your professional and personal experience and where our company are heading in the future. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
For listening.